All right, let's call to order the Silver Lake School Committee meeting, January 12th at 7:04. We're being recorded by 2 cameras tonight. We can talk about that a little bit later, but in an effort to get our message and our information out a little bit faster to the community. Actually, I would ask us all to stand for a moment of silence, please. We've recently lost, tragically, 3 members or former members of our school community, Kevin Reed, Kyle Champini, and most recently over the holidays, Kaylee DeRocha. So if we could have a moment of silence, please, for those children and their families. Thank you, and our thoughts and prayers continue to be with those families. Okay.
That is on the blue.
Oh, all right, good. And I will hand it over to our principals for some student participation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight we have a couple of presentations. I'm going to introduce first Ms. Kelly DePasqua, our Practical Arts Chair here at the high school. I'm going to let her introduce the students we're so proud of tonight that are going to be performing. The students that are performing tonight, these guys will be heading down to Atlantic City in April, the 5th through the 8th. Which is, as you know, an out-of-state trip that I will be asking your permission for. But in advance, you know, I'm going to be performing at the All Eastern Music Festival, which you approve every year, anyways. And
This is our audition, their audition for that?
yeah, this is their audition for that, right?
It's great. So, just what we decided in trying to figure out what was the best way, Jim asked if we could have student participation tonight, and we've had 4 students accepted to All Eastern this year. Tom McSorley, he's a junior, and then seniors Andrew Northrup, Matthew Donahue, and Peter Morgan, who's unable to be here tonight. And we were thinking what would be the best way for them to showcase their skill, and we thought maybe so we could give each of them a chance to do something individually. We just would show you sort of how they got to All Eastern and what All Eastern is, because we talk about these things like we know exactly what they are, but I know most of the people here have no idea what All Eastern is, and really that level, it's like being a National Merit Scholar. It's that select, it's that a small population of the student population, and so we have 4 students selected this year. I've had 4 students previous to this year in my entire teaching career. You know, so this is we've had 4 students from Silver Lake ever accepted to All Eastern, since I've been here. But I don't think there were any before that we could research. So Dan Costello went in 2005. Liz Rogers went in 2007, and then 2011 was Melissa Tompkins, and 2011 was Jessie Rowe, 2013 was Melissa Tompkins. So 4 students over that many number of years. We have 4 students this year alone. So individually, it really is the kind of thing that usually only 1 kid from a school goes. And so we have 1 student on each voice part. They were not in direct competition with each other, and so I think that's partway how we got so many from our school. We have 1 tenor 1, 1 tenor 2, 1 bass 1, and 1 bass 2. So they both, you know, they individually came up in their ranks to be in the top, you know, maybe 8 students from Massachusetts on their voice part that selected to represent our state. So it starts all the way back at the district level festival. So the students, when you hear they're participating in district, that's the one that just got snowed out this weekend, senior district, the students go and audition. And so Andrew is going to sing the senior district audition piece, which is the first step of the process on how they got to All Eastern. So senior Andrew Northrup. Singing in These Delightful Pleasant Groves, which is what they auditioned with this fall for senior district. I did not check the volume level here on this, so. Yeah, but I can adjust it as we go, Andrew, so.
One, two, one.
In these delightful pleasant groves, in these delightful pleasant groves, let us celebrate, let us celebrate, let us celebrate our happy, happy loves. In these delightful pleasant groves, in these delightful pleasant groves, Let us celebrate, let us celebrate, let us celebrate our happy, happy loves. Let's pipe, pipe and dance. Let's pipe, pipe and dance. Laugh, 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 laugh and sing, laugh and sing. Thus, thus, thus every happy, happy living thing revels in the cheerful spring. Revels in the cheerful spring.
Depending on how much you know about music, he was singing the tenor part to a recorded track of the soprano, the alto, and the bass parts. So they practice with the other parts, but then they have to go and sing their part for a judge. They're adjudicated on rhythmic accuracy, melodic accuracy, intonation, diction, their consonants, their vowels, their tuning, their expression, etc. Also, they have to do sight reading, which we're going to get to in just a minute. So we had, every year we had 20, we're limited, we can send 24 students to audition for that. Silver Lake this year had 16 students accepted to the district level. So students audition, it's a couple hundred students, they accept 50 per voice part. So the students to get accepted have to be in the top 50 of their voice part. The top 25 of that 50 get a recommendation to audition for Allstate. So that's the next level further. And so they get a recommendation, they learn another song. It's a little bit more challenging, the level of difficulty. The sight reading they have to do gets more challenging. And so Tom McSorley is going to come up and sing. This is this year's Allstate audition piece. Their auditions are on the 21st of February. We have 10 students. What? The 21st of January, sorry. We have 10 students from Silver Lake that earned Allstate recommendations. That's a very high number. 7 of them basses. 6 of them basses. 6 of them basses, 8 of them guys.
Bases.
And so Tom is going to sing the piece is Angelus ad Pastores. It is in Latin. It does sit quite high. He's singing tenor. It fits his voice quite lovely. So this is Tom McSorley singing Angelus, this year's Allstate audition piece. Without the tenor, and he's still using his music, his audition is, we're still learning this one. This one is a work in progress. Increase on the piece, the range, the tessitura. He made that sound really easy, but for young tenors, that's very high. And then the other component to these auditions is they also have to complete a sight reading assessment, and that gets harder at each level. And so Matt Donahue, who sings bass, who is quite a good reader, quite a great musician, volunteered to demonstrate for you what a sight reading assessment might be. So it's cold, they don't get to prepare, and I offered to let him look at it this afternoon, just because it is the school committee and it was being videotaped, but he chose to do it sight unseen. I will give you a couple of seconds to look over. I'm going to ask him to do two. I'm going to ask him to do one that's about at the district level, and then I'm going to ask him to do level 5, which is about at the all-state level. And I made a couple copies so you could read along, those of you that think you might be able to.
Yeah.
So why don't you take a minute to look over number 2. He has perfect pitch, so I don't have to give him the pitch. But you would be given your pitch. So he's going to read number 2. He's never seen this before. It's a couple, so you feel free to read along. There you go. There you go. Now you need to read it, right? You're gonna use your readers. There you go. Go ahead, Matt.
Should I use solfege?
Whatever, however you want to. They can do it on solfege, they can do it on numbers, they can do it on la la la. Yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, these guys can do it too.
We're not just
You're not going to. Your choice, however you want to. Can you do the first one on solfege? And then maybe the second
Yes.
one you'll do neutral?
I'm gonna go for the gold and use
All right.
solfege.
Okay.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, do, ti, fa, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, do, re, mi, re, do.
Well done. And so that would be probably a perfect score. Little pause in there, but at the district level would probably be forgiven, as that would probably get a perfect score, which is what most of these guys did at the district level. Okay, number 5. Matt, take a second to look it over if you want. It's much harder. You don't have to use solfege, you can use neutral solfege.
I wasn't planning on it.
Do you want to read through it once, or you?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, so we'll give him a last second while he talks about that, and then they're just going to sing quickly together and we'll be done. So, what happens after they get through their successful all-state audition, they've changed the requirement now so that to apply for All Eastern, it's open now to all students who make their all-state and are going into grade 11 or 12. And so the students can then apply, create a resume, and include all their past festival history. So one of the other reasons these folks did so well is you went to All-State
Sophomore and junior year.
sophomore, junior year. He also went to All-State sophomore year. He went 9, 10, and 11. Also went to All-National, also went to district, also went to junior district, also went to SEMSBA. So they have a lot of festival experience, which make them look good when they look at their resumes. Ready? See what happens. All right, and you're allowed to make a mistake.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Matt.
Is it being graded?
Do, 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 do,
Bravo. Wow. And that's the other component that some people can't do. And you might sing beautifully. If you can't do that, you don't make All-State. It's both the academic component of their general musicianship training. So they're going to close by singing just one verse of A Parting Glass. And we thank you for asking us and supporting us completely. And we're very excited to be headed to Atlantic City with 4 kids in tow. And very, very grateful that both Mrs. Foley, Mrs. Brighton, I do that all the time, and I are able to travel with them and attend the conference supported by the district. So thank you. Just in closing, go ahead, you guys. changed the part. Matt and Andrew on this particular song sang the same part, and Peter would have been on the bass part, but Matt's just going to read the bass part. That's how we roll.
Of all the money that e'er I had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I've done, alas, it was to none but me, and all I've done for want of wit to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. So fill to me the parting glass and drink a health whate'er befalls. Then gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all.
That was the alto part. They said I could sing along with them because I also went to All Eastern in 1991. Thanks again.
Oh my God, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Black.
Good job.
Thank
It's
you.
at least stinks. Listen to the camera.
This is Jesse.
I got one more.
Sure.
So we have, also tonight, we have a senior from Kingston, Jesse Johnson. Jesse is the student council president. He's here tonight to give an activities update.
Well, that is going to be quite a hard act to follow, so I'm going to try to be as interesting as I can. So, my name is Jesse Johnson. I am the student council president at our school, and so I figured I'd come in today and sort of tell you about some of the activities that we've had going on in our school in the past few weeks, and also what's coming up. So recently we had, during the holiday season, what we call teacher karaoke here at Silver Lake. Now this is a fundraiser where some of the teachers volunteer to sing karaoke in front of the whole school, and pretty much for all of the students you are required to donate either 20 canned food items or $7. And we were able to raise over 2,000 donations through this fundraiser, which was really outstanding for our school. We teamed up with the Plymouth Area Coalition to do this, so all of that food went to underprivileged families during this holiday season, which was awesome. Last week we had Silver Lake Pops Night, which is a new activity here at Silver Lake, where some of the alumni from the choir and some of the band students as well came back and performed for an audience. There was an amazing turnout for it being the first time we've done this. I think everyone really had fun, and hopefully we'll see it next year. We've also had the Best Buddies Summit, which was located at Carver High. So every year, Silver Lake and Carver, we get together, both the student council and the Best Buddies from both schools, either meet, every year we switch off what school it goes to, but pretty much the basis is there is some sort of activity that allows everyone to get to know each other and sort of work together to reach a common goal. It's something we've sort of done to include one of our groups at Silver Lake that isn't necessarily always noticed, so it's really a nice thing to do, kind of involve everyone, which is really awesome. Some of the upcoming events we have at school, Silver Lake's Got Talent, that's our talent show at the high school. It's organized by the sophomore class each year, and this year it will be on February 3rd. That's looking like it's going to be a lot of fun. Breakfast with the principal, so this year and last year as well, we have an opportunity for the students at our high school from all different backgrounds, whether CTE kids, you've got advanced and CP1, all different ranges of kids get to come and talk with our principal pretty much to share their opinions on how our school is going, some of the activities that we've done in the past, and what's going on in the future. And that's sort of a way for everyone to sort of be able to say their opinion and maybe give some ideas for us to look on and try to change to make this school more enjoyable for everyone who goes here. That is going to be this Friday for the freshman and sophomore class, and next Friday for the junior and senior class. Kids Day at the Lake, that's going to be next Tuesday, January 15th from 9 to 1 at the middle school. So many kids from the student council volunteer each year. This year it's going to be at the middle school because of professional development on Tuesday. So pretty much all of the kids, any kids that want to come are accepted, and pretty much from 9 to 1 we do all kinds of things. We try to keep them as occupied as they can be. We have movies, games, the gym is open to us to use. There's a lot of activities, arts and crafts. So it's a really fun time for them. The MASC Bocce Tournament. So MASC is the Massachusetts Association of Student Councils, and every year they partner up with Special Olympics to host a bocce tournament with student council kids and Best Buddies kids, sort of as an inclusive day of pretty much inclusion for everyone. They get together and we compete against other schools. It was supposed to be last Sunday, but due to the weather, it has been postponed till January 29th at Whitman Hanson High School. Lastly, there is a student-produced play that is being put on in our school called Wherefore Art Thou Shakespeare. It's going to be directed by our teachers, Ms. Farrar, who's actually in the audience today, and Ms. Bates. It was written by Jessica Costas, Nathan Finney, Margaret Amundsen, Peter Morgan, and Jessica Slattery. They started writing it towards the end of last year, and it's just getting put into motion now. We've already started rehearsing, and it looks really great, so it should be a really good time. That will be performed on Thursday, February 16th at 7 o'clock, and in school each period on that Friday, February 17th. And that is looking like that is it for the upcoming events. So thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Those were wonderful updates. Thank you. You delivered them very, very well. And thank you for taking the time to meet with us tonight. You gentlemen are incredibly talented, and I wish you so much luck in the upcoming event. And I just see wonderful futures for you if you travel down the road of pursuing this as some sort of, career or even a hobby. You're phenomenally talented. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good job. Well done. Thanks, guys. You're welcome.
Have a wonderful
Can you grab
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Representative Halpern.
Larry, you can take me to that.
Okay, I mean Jesse.
Thanks again. Thank you.
Yeah. So is Maureen. Jason, sit down.
There's no way I'm giving
I'm sorry? Oh, okay.
And with him sitting over there.
Folks, just in an effort to continue on, I'm going to ask the committee if we could take a couple of items out of order, please. Tom Coulter's here tonight to give us an update on our legislation for the sale of the land in Kingston, as well as our auditors are here. I'm going to ask somebody on the committee to make a motion to take those out of order, in that order, please.
Make a motion to take it out of order. Have Rep. Coulter and our auditor.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Maureen, are you in favor?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, opposed, abstained? None? Okay. Tom, I'm going to ask you to go first, and I apologize, before you begin, and I think most of the committee, if not everybody, is aware of what we're going to discuss here, and thank you for your time this evening. I have to open this on a personal note, not personal, but comments from one committee member to the broad audience. I have volunteered for 18 or 19 years now on boards or committees, school committees, and I have never seen an action taken to undermine the vote and the agenda of a committee, the likes of which we're going to discuss right now. We talk about being collaborative. This is not collaborative. This is not collaborative. I'm reining in what I feel like saying. I have to, because I'm exceptionally upset about this. This committee I am privileged to work with is bright, dedicated, and does everything to the best of their ability for the betterment of the school, the students, and within the realm of what the community would want. We are elected by the population. This is not an effort by the Halifax and Plimpton communities at large. This is an effort by a select few who did not like our vote, a vote that was vetted over a couple of different school committees, more than a couple of different school committee meetings, and thought through, was not unanimous, which is actually a wonderful thing when you have a very dynamic topic. And I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but I just had to open this discussion by saying how appalled and disappointed I am that others in elected positions who've also volunteered their time would undermine the efforts of this committee. Having said that, and before I ask Tom to stand, if anybody else feels very strongly right now or wants to wait till after Tom says what his update, I would, welcome you. Okay. Tom, I just had to say my piece.
I understand. Thank you, Madam Chair. I've also
Okay.
thought a lot about what I was going to say to this body tonight. I've served in the legislature for 10 years and have dealt with some pretty thorny issues, some very difficult issues that people felt passionate on one side or the other. Perhaps it's a sign of the times in our recent presidential election, but I have never in 10 years dealt with an issue as simple as this one that has become more contentious, become underpinned by misinformation, by people who are on the other side of the issue, and has become more deeply personal than this issue. So I think it's wise to kind of go back a bit and talk about the process, the law, what was required, and I assure you what I'm going to give you is factual information. And I would challenge anybody to fact check it and research it. And let me say in advance, I'm a resident of Kingston. My comments do not weigh either way on the Kingston Police project. That's not in my venue. It's not my fight. It's not my responsibility. I will get one vote as a citizen of Kingston, and no one will know what that vote is. I have no intention of speaking on the issue, advocating for the issue. So now to go back to the beginning. The regional school district under Chapter 71, this committee is a legal body vested with certain authorities relative to school matters for the regional school district. There can be no disagreement on that. There can be no argument to undermine that. It is the law. Unfortunately, within the law, there is no provision for a regional school district to sell land. There's not even a provision for municipalities to sell land. Although municipalities do have the right, when they sell land, they have to have what's done a home rule petition. Town meeting votes on a matter, the matter is approved by town meeting, and then your respective legislator must file a home rule petition which is voted on in the legislature in order for the matter to be sealed. Regional school districts don't have that authority to convey land. Therefore, you need to go to a higher level. It's no longer a home rule petition. It is special legislation that allows for the conveyance between the buyer and the seller. The legislation has nothing to do whatsoever to do with the merits of a project. The legislation has nothing to do whatsoever with whether you agree with it, disagree with it, whether you like the location, don't like the location, whether you like the price, whether you don't like the price of the project, whether you think the land price is fair or unfair, whether you think the town can afford it or not afford it, or that the region should sell it or not sell it. The special legislation simply allows for the conveyance of the transaction should the parties have a meeting of the minds. You're required to pass a special law, which is a paragraph, which simply gives the regional school district the authority to convey if the parties agree to a deal. So after the district attorney, the regional school district attorney, worked with the town of Kingston attorney, because there are the buyers and the sellers, they provided to my office the language for special legislation, which I found in order and I sent to House Counsel for review. House Counsel sent it back to me, approved, which means that your committee attorney and this Kingston attorney did a good job of crafting it. I submitted it. I followed it through the process. During that time is when the misinformation began. I was accused of plowing the Kingston project through the legislature when it had nothing to do with the Kingston project. It's about a land sale. That's all this legislation is about, a land sale. And I found myself answering more emails laced with misinformation than I have on any issue I've had to deal with in the past 10 years. And I'm sad to say that that misinformation wasn't spread out of carelessness. I'll leave it at that. I need to restrain myself as well. So the bill passed in the Massachusetts House of Representatives as written. Before the bill was passed, I heard from one of the Tri-Town managers who directed me to amend my bill to suggest that this matter should be brought to town meeting. I directly informed the town manager that I felt that that was out of order. I researched the authority of the regional school district. I brought the question to House Counsel. House Counsel confirmed for me with language that made very, very clear that the regional school committee, and I quote, under Chapter 71, is a body politic and corporate with all the powers and duties conferred by law upon school committees, and certain additional powers and duties, including those enumerated in your district agreement. It continues on later on to say, we are not aware of similar provisions in the general laws of the district or the district's regional agreement that would require member towns to approve the district's transfer of property. So it was simple for me. So I refused to amend the bill before it went before the full body of the House, and it passed as written. The bill then went over to the Senate, and Senator Brady, who I must say, for the record, has done yeoman's work on this issue. He represents the towns of Plimpton and Halifax and Brockton and a handful of others. Their region is much larger. He was instructed to amend the bill to require, not that it be brought to the town meetings, but that it be ratified, that your vote be ratified by each town's Board of Selectmen. And so Senator Brady called me, and he said, what do you know about this issue? You know, he's not incredibly involved. He doesn't live in the district like I do. And I explained to him everything I just explained to you. And he said, well, will it kill the project? I said, that's not my concern, whether it kills the project or doesn't kill the project. That's not what's at stake here. What's at stake here is the authority that's been vested in the Regional School Committee by the citizens of Plimpton, Halifax, and Kingston. I said, Michael, you and I should have nothing to say, no opinion on the validity, the value of the project. And he understood completely. So he felt compelled to file an amendment because the arguments that were being made to him is that the general public should be able to weigh in on this matter. Well, there's not a politician alive that would argue against the public weighing in on any matter. They can, they should, it's appropriate. So Michael crafted an amendment, and this was on the very last day of session, and the Senate bill amended the bill to say that you will have, under this special legislation, a public meeting that will be vested by each town, will be posted by each town. Public may or may not come out for it, and that must take a vote following that, which, Maureen, I gave you misinformation when I said that another vote wouldn't be required. House Counsel was unclear on that. And so the bill passed as written with that one amendment, that you will conduct and post a public meeting where you'll talk about the opinion, the matter at hand, which is the area I just covered, the special legislation for this project. It's not your responsibility to defend or present the project. It's your responsibility to talk about the transfer of land from the district to the town of Kingston. That bill at 11 o'clock last Tuesday night came over to the House. The session ended at midnight. I was on the rostrum when it came over, and we concurred with the Senate's amendment. The choice at that time was to either concur with the amendment or not concur with the amendment. If we chose not to concur with the amendment, the bill would die and would have to be refiled by the 20th of this month and start the process all over again, and it would not be done before any of your town meetings. So I made the decision to concur. The bill was passed. It's laid on the governor's desk as of right now, and it's expected to be signed tomorrow. The letter that the chairlady is referring to is a letter from the town of Plimpton asking the governor to veto this bill. I spoke with the governor this morning. I briefed him on all of the facts. Just like I don't make an argument as to whether the project is worthy or not worthy, I didn't make an argument to the governor that he should or should not veto it. I trust that people should be able to make their own decisions. But I feel very confident that the governor will sign the bill tomorrow. I'm disappointed, as you are, Madam Chair, at the series of events. We find ourselves in a time when misinformation and personal opinions and personal agendas are finding their way into public debate. I know people on this committee have taken a rap for selling the football field to build the Kingston Police Department. And then for the viewers on television, it's not true. But it's a neat trick. And I think, folks, we just heard 4 incredibly talented, beautiful people that attend this school. And I've said for 10 years, since the day I took office, they're listening to us. And that is the type of behavior that they're listening to. We just heard greatness. And it's up to us to maintain that greatness with our behavior. I served on this committee. I honor the work you do. Maureen and I fought side by side to protect the rights of this committee. And just as I wouldn't support any mission to undermine the authority of any Board of Selectmen in any of my 3 towns, I won't be party to undermining the authority of this committee in those 3 towns. That may cost me some votes, and that's okay. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to handle them.
Open up to the committee.
John, you mentioned it. Once the hearing is done, we have to re-vote on?
You do, and the reason is that when the amendment was filed, I'm telling you, I spent 4 hours on this today with 2 different attorneys, and they had 2 different answers.
Only two?
The amendment that was filed was a bit ambiguous. It says that following a public meeting, the terms and conditions of the agreement between the parties must be voted on. When Senator Brady wrote the amendment and reviewed it with Senate Counsel, they didn't know that this committee had already voted. So your attorney could make a very strong argument that a second vote is not necessary. What House Counsel said to me today, if you don't want the vote to be questioned by anybody, you should legitimately listen to the input of residents or anyone who comes to that public meeting. And if you're going to re-vote what you voted, it's a simple codification of what you've already voted. But assuming that the public hearing, people are actively listening, if there are any changes to what you voted on, that is the time to make the changes and re-vote it. I know it's a pain. I mean, when we pass legislation, the same bill that hurts a real lot to vote for comes back 3 times for us to vote, for passage, for engrossment, for enactment. So we get to really irritate people 3 times. So I feel your pain.
I have a question.
Tom, it doesn't seem that there's any wording in here to say when the towns have to have this public meeting.
That's correct.
And yet, as you mentioned, we have town meetings coming up. If they were to not have the public meetings prior to town meeting, what does that do?
If you don't have the stipulation of the transaction, the legislation provides stipulations for the transaction to be legal. So you're right, it becomes a timing issue. In my opinion, the committee should take up the issue immediately. Have it posted in the 3 towns, have the public hearing, provide all the information that people are looking for so there's no misinformation on the street, and so that those who purposely spread misinformation are neutralized. And then, as a committee, do as you're elected to do, to take a vote, yay or nay. And the process works. Process isn't always easy, but it does work. I don't know that that is it. The legislation doesn't provide a calendar for the vote. That's up to local officials. I would suggest posting it and
I
having it.
misread, I thought it was requiring our selectmen to post, but I realized that we can post this for the 3 towns. That was what I wanted to clarify, and thank you so much for your help in this matter.
My pleasure, Madam.
Eric.
Any other questions, Madam Chair?
Eric.
I have a question. I'm not sure who to ask, but you were talking about the town meeting. I know this needs to go through Kingston town meeting, but does this affect Plimpton
No.
and Halifax town meeting? Or
It does not.
It does not, so it's just...
You are, Maureen has made this clear in several meetings, you are, under your own Silver Lake agreement, the 3-town agreement, and under state law, Chapter 71, you are the representatives of your 3 towns. So when I hear folks say, and perhaps my candor gets me into trouble, when I hear folks say that we should have a say in this, they do, it's you. You are their say. It's no different than the Massachusetts House of Representatives. People want to have a say in how the Massachusetts legislature works. They do, and that's me. And if I mess up, then I'll hear about it, and I should. But we can't have 40,000 constituents running up to the State House saying, I don't agree with Tom, I want to veto that. I'm very disappointed in that letter that came from the select. Because I've been in presentations when they have been given by others sound reasoning on this issue. That makes it sound like they've never been in those meetings.
I would agree.
Thank you for taking the time to come.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Tom. So, I'm sorry?
Nothing.
No, go ahead, Molly.
I was just going to say that we should plan on posting it for maybe the meeting in March, because next meeting is our open public budget meeting.
Yeah, it'd be too overwhelming, probably.
I think it would be too much that night, plus we have a joint meeting that night as well. So maybe for the March meeting, which would give plenty of time to post it. and hopefully everyone will be here.
2 months.
Especially those people who aren't here tonight in the audience.
Yes.
Exactly. And I know that Laura is not here tonight because her son had some surgery, so that's why she's unable to make it. So hopefully we'll have a full school committee. We'll have members of the public and the Plumpton Selectmen and Finance Committee here to voice opinions. That would be my suggestion. I'll make it as a motion.
Could you please?
Yes.
Okay.
I would move that we send notices to the 3 towns and have it posted that we will discuss the Silver Lake land purchase from the town of Kingston at our March meeting, which I'm sorry, I don't have the date. Lisa? Do we know the date of March? It's going to be the second weekend, second Thursday, whatever date that is.
Thursday in March.
Can I ask you to just
Certainly.
amend the language there? The special legislation for the Kingston land purchase, because again, it's just a
Yes,
special legislation.
for the Kingston land purchase at our March Silver Lake meeting. March 9th? March 9th.
Could I have a second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I so appreciate the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, folks. Next, our auditor.
Usually not at Debbie Downer. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. John?
Madam Chair, could I make a comment?
John, I would love you to. You've been painfully quiet over there. I was wondering what I might hear from you.
John Creek, 4 Bayberry Lane, Kingston. I'd just like to say, serving on school committees for 25 years in 3 towns, including 13 here, or whatever, I want to say that I came because the issue I had was the same as Representative Coulter, to protect school committees. I protect them in 2 areas: line item autonomy and their own autonomy. And I just want to say, I appreciate Senator Brady, what he did. I've never met the gentleman, but he did what he should do. But I believe what Representative Coulter did and your vote today maintain those 2 areas, and I thank you and good luck.
Thanks, John. Good to see you, John.
Madam
Jason.
Chair, through you to our storied former legislative agent, that means a million to me. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay, I think we're going to turn it over to our auditors.
Well, I'm just going to introduce Grady. This is Grady Connor from the audit firm of Lynch, Malloy, Marini. Grady is the partner in charge of our work. They do help us with our E&D certification and some documentation they help us with. They also perform the annual audit, and then they also do the review of the end-of-year report for us. And in your package tonight, following the minutes, you will see a handout that Grady's going to cover, and this is just an overview of E&D.
Well, thank you, school committee. Again, we're asked to, this year to just kind of give you folks a little bit of an overview of the E&D, excess and deficiency, and what does that really mean. Again, E&D is a Massachusetts Department of Revenue calculation and a requirement every year for regional school districts in Massachusetts as part of the overall budget process. Again, it's not what we as auditors report the district's financial statements under. That's under GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. So it is a little different. Again, it's a calculation that DOR has. Again, it's established under Mass General Law, Chapter 71, which requires districts to maintain an excess and deficiency fund. And what that basically is unreserved fund balance every year, which excludes any designated amounts or encumbrances of open liabilities into the next year. So it's basically what you can retain and potentially use to fund the budget. Mass General Law limits that for regional districts, and essentially the limitation is 5% of the next year's budget, okay? So if a district goes over that 5%, in the calculation that DOR does, that's required to get returned back to the member towns as part of their assessment. So you say, how does DOR come up with that calculation? as Christine says, all districts are required to submit a balance sheet to DOR by October 31st for the year ending June 30th. And DOR goes through and does their calculation, and they give a certified number. On page 2, you say, well, what's the calculation? And again, the potential, I say potential, it's summarized here, is they start with what the district's unreserved fund balance is on the balance sheet, and then they subtract some items, if there's any receivables, if there's any overdrawn accounts, any deficits in any grants, or special revenue funds, or if an entity prepays an item, they will deduct that from unreserved fund balance and come up with their amount, which is called E&D, and they certify that. And, you know, over the past couple of years, I think it's been three or 4 years now, DOR sends, when they do the certification of the number, they actually send their calculation with how they arrived at the number. You know, years back, you know, it was kind of always a mystery of how they came up with the number. But, you know, in the last few years, they've started to provide that to everybody. So as of the number that they certified this year for Silver Lake as of July 1, based upon the June 30 submission, you know, the certified E&D was just over $1.1 million. Again, as you know, obviously, you know, the district has a long-term capital plan, you know, for 5 years, and in the last couple of years, you know, you've been funding your capital improvements basically from your E&D number, you know, so to the tune of about, you know, $500,000 to $600,000 in the last 2 years. So, you know, overall, you know, that's a pretty good number for a district your size. So that's kind of just a quick overview. If there's any questions that I can try to answer, if you have any, I'd be happy to try.
Is it okay if I just ask a quick question?
Certainly.
When you say that the calculation of E&D starts with the submitted balance sheet in October, has that balance sheet been audited by your firm?
We're working on the audit as we speak, yes.
So it's a draft version that goes?
Well, again, Department of Revenue, it's strictly on the district's basis. Again, we help pull the balance sheet together, so as far as that number,
They
yeah, we're
ask for a
comfortable that that's...
system-generated balance sheet from us, from our system.
But does it go through the auditor's review first before it goes to DOR? Or
The
vice
auditors
versa?
work with us as we're doing the submission.
Okay.
But that is our balance sheet that we're submitting.
Yes, as part of assisting the district, we see those numbers and, you know, we're comfortable what's being submitted is accurate.
Perfect.
You know, it's not required to be audited, but...
Excellent.
And it's known that it's an unaudited balance sheet.
But I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
that you guys had participated in the process.
Yes.
That's our regular. Okay,
Yes.
excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Paula.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Okay. Well, again, we appreciate
Thank you very much.
and thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Principals, I don't know if you noticed this tie, but
I did notice that. For the record, I was going to congratulate him on wearing a silver
Yeah, no,
tie.
it should be held.
And how appropriate for the meeting, and I want to get one, so.
Do we have any other public participation at this time? Seeing none? Let's move on to the minutes, if we can. And if I could have a motion, perhaps?
I make a motion that we approve minutes December 8, 2016, regular and executive, and October 13, 2016, executive session. I don't believe there's anything we need to hold.
I think we do.
Is there? Okay.
I think, yeah. So I think it's all of the above for executive.
Right.
The October minutes had been approved in whole and held. Ms. Springer had requested that they be brought forward because she thought they could be released. That's why. They've already been voted on.
Okay.
At the last meeting, she had asked to bring them forward to release at this time.
There's negotiations.
Yeah,
I'm apprehensive to do that.
I am too, so actually, if anybody objects, we'll do it through your motion.
And I will second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, we're gonna hold. Okay. All right. Silver Lake Educational Association, hello.
Hi, Kim.
Hey, I'm Kim Marquette. I'm the president of the SLEA. I don't have anything too pressing on the agenda, but I do know that as we're moving into the budget, that things have a tendency to take a turn, and I wanted to again just send my support to the communities and my appreciation to the communities for supporting Silver Lake schools, and to the committee here, who I feel like the teachers at Silver Lake have worked hard to create a really good relationship with, and we're hoping to continue that as we work our way through the upcoming couple of meetings and months and all the way through the town meetings. So we're here, we're gonna do our best to make sure that we work with you in whatever way that we can to make sure that we can continue functioning as the high achieving school that we are. And we just wanna thank you guys and hope that we can work through this smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you. Administrative review. Career and technical ed.
We met this evening with Elliott Glass. A couple of items on the agenda. We have a new horticulture teacher, Ethan D'Angelo, who is a high-ranking member of the FFA, and we were able to host the state leadership training for FFA back in December. This brought other Aggie schools to us, which is nice. They get to see how we do things. So Norfolk Aggie, Bristol Aggie, and Essex Aggie all brought their students to Silver Lake. So we had the home field advantage, to say it nicely. We are sending 4 juniors, automotive juniors, Saturday to the Massachusetts State Automobile Dealers Association. This used to be the Ford AAA competition that no longer exists. Those people will be going to Marlboro very early on Saturday morning. Good luck to Rich Castanello, Nicholas Hatch, Sean Piccarelli, and Austin Mayette, who will be competing this Saturday. Applications are now going to be taken for the Silver Lake Preschool for next year, 2017-2018. It's on the website under links. Halifax, Kingston, and Plimpton families can apply. Deadline is March 1st. Middle school recruitment with Mr. Dupiel is going to be coming up. The CTE open house will be February 15th at 7 p.m. at the high school for middle school 8th graders. Personal one for me, the safety audit, CPR safety audit was passed successfully. That means all the programs have met all the state requirements for safety throughout the building. And the adult ed brochure will be available next week on the high school website. Registration is open through the February vacation, with classes starting the last week of February or the first week in March.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you. Chairman's report. We did have some correspondence. Jason, it came directly to you, so if you don't mind, I just turn it to you if you feel comfortable.
Through you, Madam Chair, if we would like to allow the gentleman to address us
Sure.
briefly with the matter at hand, I would appreciate the time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, my name's John Chavone. I'm on the board of directors of Area 58 Community Access Media. And just to let the school committee know, in order to, Area 58 covers the towns of Halifax and Plimpton for the different meetings in the towns, different events. And in order to get a more timely program to the publics in Halifax and Plimpton, we, the board of directors, budgeted this year for Area 58 to cover the Silver Lake school committee meetings for Halifax and Plimpton. And that's why the additional camera is here tonight. Just want to give everybody a heads up as to why this is happening. Any questions?
Do you have a sense for the timing when the public will actually be able to see the
Well,
broadcast?
typically our meetings are once once the media is sent back to the studio, they should be available in 2 to 3 days. Usually, it's available in 3 formats. It's on the television, educational channel, Channel 14 in Halifax and Plimpton. It's also on the Area 58 website. There are links for the meetings, and then it's also on YouTube through a link that you can get at the Area 58. So around 3 days, 4 days max, most of our meetings are up and running on the air. So it was taking a little bit longer having it go through a third party before, so the board decided that this is what we need to do for this meeting, and then hopefully any additional school function plays, we will try to collaborate with the other community access to make sure that those are available on a timely basis as well.
That's wonderful, and to be honest with you, I don't think your timing could be any better, given that we're entering, our budget discussions, and it would be very advantageous of folks out in the public, if they can't attend our meetings, to be able to go on YouTube or view it in some way and have a sense for what's happening and what we're trying to, do with the taxpayers' money. So that's perfect timing, quite frankly.
I'm glad we could oblige.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your time, Madam Chair.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, legislative agent.
So I think my good colleague from Kingston and I gave you enough financials from last month's meeting. Again, the state revenues are missing, continue to miss, and the message we're receiving from the State House is to be thrifty and wise. Moving ahead from there, I think the most important legislative news that affects our district just occurred in this meeting. Outside of our own little world, the Senate confirmation for the Secretary of Education in Washington, D.C. has been postponed. They're trying to get through a lot of confirmation hearings right now, and they can't vet all of the candidates at this point. They've never had this many millionaires and billionaires appointed to cabinet positions, and they're not equipped to vet those people in a timely manner. So her Senate confirmation hearings will be on January 17th, is the latest number I've seen. Again, pay attention. Her philosophies of education will affect us all. Lastly, Governor Baker announced yesterday a $2 million grant that was won by the state of Massachusetts for our career and technical education. I shared this information with Director Elliott Glass, and it brings CTE into the forefront of the conversation up at the State House. So it's good news for the state. And that is all I have for you, Madam Chair.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Paula, can I just add one date? Sure. A legislative issue. Just to dovetail, Jason, on your comments, just to let everybody know that the governor's budget is due out on January 25th. So that will be our first glimpse at state aid numbers. And prior to that, the MMA, which is the Mass Municipal Association, holds their annual conference on January 20th and 21st, which is a Friday and a Saturday. And the governor is scheduled to speak and present opening remarks on Saturday morning, at which time, and it's attended by thousands and thousands of municipal representatives from all across the state. They will have the ear of the governor, as they do throughout the course of the process, but especially at this particular forum, in order to influence his preparation of the budget that will be forthcoming on January 25th. So we'll all be eager to see the state aid numbers when they are released at the end of the month.
Wonderful. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Okay. Negotiations. Update in executive session.
No, I don't think we need an executive session at this point. We have another meeting on the 25th, and we'll have a report for you in February.
Okay, wonderful. Pat?
We have not had a meeting since our last meeting, so I'd still ask that if anybody has any input for the strategic plan that the Pilgrim Area Collaborative will be going through this spring, I'd be open to any ideas, comments, and strategies you'd like to see set forth over the next 5 years from our collaborative. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Policy. Yeah. Revolving accounts.
We actually met tonight with our cafeteria director, and we're very encouraged that some of the changes that have been made, along with some different food products that have brought in, some different ways of purchasing some of the products, are actually showing not a savings, but we're getting back in the black a little bit. So we should, if that was from September through December was the report, and we're hoping that, you know, as we move into the spring and they're going to try a few other things about the brown bag lunches, which is more available to our athletics children after school extracurricular activities. It didn't go well this past year, but we're hoping that it will again this year. So we're encouraging keeping a very close eye on that.
Great, thank you, Maureen. What did we decide to call this acronym? Safer. Safer.
Mark?
Down to the motion you were looking for, right?
Yep.
We have done some research on the sewer project, and thankfully Brian DeGuerra brought us good news. We have an engineer, Grady Engineering, that was able to come up with a solution for our problem that is a gravity solution without the expense of additional pumps and the maintenance of those pumps and all the issues that come with a mechanical device and putting it all on the ground. The project's going to involve an installation of a 12-inch sewer main that would have to be done this summer. But we are able to work through the rest of the year with our emergency as it is, with the higher labor content of having custodians get involved pretty much on an hourly basis during school hours to make sure that we have sufficient flow. We're able to get through the rest of the year doing that. But we will need a motion to let Brian DeGuerra go out for bid as soon as possible on the project. We anticipate that the bid documents and engineering should be ready within the next 30 days, which will probably be before our next meeting. The estimated expense for this project would be around $75,000 versus the hundreds of thousands that we had heard before for this repair. So our motion is to allow our head custodial Brian DeGuerra and the superintendent administration to go forward with the emergency repair and go out to bid on the project and authorize them to go out to bid and accept those bids to make this repair. The goal would be to get the bid done now while the bids, typically construction folks are bidding lower now based on the weather and the fact that lining projects up for the summer, and we feel that it would cost the region significantly more if we wait until we get past the process. The engineering looks sound, and I think we should trust our administration to go forward with that. So, motion to allow the superintendent and to move forward on the sewer repair. I know, do we need to put an amount with that?
No,
Up to?
because we're getting, well, probably is two.
Up to a sum of $80,000 for the repair, for the bids.
For the bids, okay.
To bid that out. No. Right? Is that satisfactory?
Second.
Well,
Christine just
but
got
second, so we
certified
can
with
discuss
some bidding
it.
stuff.
Second for discussion, but we have, the line item that we have is 125, which includes the disruption of the metal fab floor, which needs to be done in conjunction with this whole project. Isn't that correct?
It's different.
I didn't realize they had to be done together.
No, they don't have to be done together, it's different.
No, I thought the bidding would be together, because if you look at the sheet, it's on, here is the whole sewer. Repair, remove, and replace.
So that's on your budget line item, but I didn't see the two projects were tied. If there's another emergency, we can make another motion.
Okay. If you look at this one, you've got the 75 and 50, and that's where that came from.
I understand where the number came from. You want them in the same motion?
I don't believe they need to be. The second one is not, if it stays under $50,000, it would not have to go out to bid. And
We could be able to use the quote process.
we use a quote process.
Okay. Between
So
tennis.
we're hoping that, we don't know yet what it will come in at, but hopefully it will stay under that mark.
Perfect.
The 75,000
Yeah,
would
I understand.
go over and meet that threshold.
Right,
That
now,
need
add
got to
the
bid.
extra 5,000, so you have some flexibility, but
And
Brian
Chris-
indicated that the bids he expected to be below that.
And I don't believe we normally put an amount when we go out to bid on the bid.
All right, let's, with the second's permission, I'd like to remove that then from my motion, just to authorize the administration to go out to bid on emergency repair of the sewer, period.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor.
Second, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Anything else I was supposed to do?
This is what happens when this is the fourth meeting of the night.
You got it done, Mark.
No. No,
Thanks.
no,
Do you want anything else we need to talk about with facilities?
no.
I think most of what we talked about with the capital plan will come up in the budget discussion later. That's that we just might as well just talk about it more.
Perfect, thank you. Sleep study, Maureen?
Only to update everyone that the 3 elementary schools as well as Silver Lake have approved to go ahead with the transportation consultant who will be coming on February 1st to start interviewing different members of the sleep study. Not for this is not being done for the sleep study. The point, it's just an extra bonus. The point of it is that we spend over $1 million here nearly on transportation in just Silver Lake alone, and I know that each town is burdened by the transportation costs that they have. We're hoping that the consultant will come in and give us some ideas, as we don't have a transportation director, which many regions do, of ways to cut some costs and save some money for us. So they're starting on February, as I said, they're meeting with a number of different parties, and we should have a report hopefully by the March meeting.
Okay. Would you anticipate, Maureen, the report being delivered by the entity doing the study?
We're making some calls tomorrow to verify a couple of questions that are still out there, so we'll check on that.
Okay. Wonderful, thank you. Treasurer's report.
Good evening. We have 14 non-payroll warrants circulating for a grand total of $991,848.71. We have 2 payroll warrants circulating for a grand total of $1,456,656.38 for a grand total of $2,448,505.09. And I believe we have all of them at this end of the table. I thank my colleague.
Thank you. Union 31.
Only to say that we have a joint meeting on February 9th, and we'll be reviewing shared costs and shared personnel at that time.
First.
It's at
6? Okay, before our next meeting. Okay. All right, Director of Business.
Good evening. Just a brief overview of tonight's financial. There has been very little change since last month. Some of the things have continued, the telephone accounts. We're still trying to get firm numbers on what that would be going forward so we can start to make some changes. Because right now we're showing a deficit in all of our telephone accounts if things continue as they are right now. I know that a lot of work is being done to formalize that plan of what, because we've had to make some changes shifting from Verizon to the new telephone company. So we're still in the midst of that happening. One of the other items I wanted to bring to your attention was we do have some changes that are happening. One of the items is on page 3 of the detail in the middle of the page. It's the homeless transportation account in high school. We're having really significant year this year in all of our schools with homeless transportation. So it doesn't often happen, and we are showing a deficit right now in the high school, and I believe we will end up showing a deficit in both the high school and the middle school by the end of the year.
And I'm sorry, can you say again, Christine, what is triggering that?
This is homeless transportation.
Right,
for
we're going
students.
further, or there's more students, or?
This number cannot be predicted. It's purely based on circumstances at the time. We have some years we have very little activity, we have other years we have a lot of activity. This year we're having consistent activity.
Really?
We're having families that are being transported for months and months, not just occasionally. And we're experiencing that in all of our districts. There's been a lot of activity. And what happens is we share that with the other school department. So, for instance, if we had a student here that was dislocated from the home they were living in Framingham, we would be sharing that with Framingham. If Framingham had a student living at the shelter here, we would be sharing that with Framingham.
Okay.
So there's an obligation to take care of it. There were some changes recently, but they haven't really helped.
They were subtle.
Budget. They were subtle and confusing.
And the answer to your question is yes, more students, more to both, you know.
Yeah.
More students, more frequency. And, yeah, and as Christine said, it's not predictable, so it's a very difficult number to, some years it's nothing.
And
but
what I'm
some
seeing
years
is more
it's a lot.
consistent. Families that have been displaced over the summertime are still displaced. So we've been transporting them for months. So, yeah. And let me see, the other item I wanted to mention is on page 4 of the detail. Our unemployment account is in a deficit. This is the first time in a very long time we've seen that. We had a couple of situations that have come to fruition, and we're experiencing consequences of that. Other than that, the only other items on the financial report that are in deficit are where we made shifts on how we were organizing information in the technology area, where we only had 3 lines before, now we have 8 lines in the middle school, high school, and CTE. So we're just experiencing some growing pains as we're getting better at defining our information and organizing it. We're just seeing, when you compare what we budgeted versus what we're actually spending, we're seeing some slight variations there, but in total, the categories will be fine. Are there any questions?
Christine, on the unemployment, is this, we agreeing that they're unemployed, or we, at times I know the unemployment office puts everybody through.
We verify that list every month.
Okay.
Yes.
And we're in agreement with it.
We
We're
are
not arguing
in
any point?
agreement.
Okay.
Yes.
But you're right, they give a longer period of time, and it seems much easier to collect unemployment.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you, Christine.
You're welcome.
All righty.
Julie, thank you. So, we are presenting our version 1 of our Silver Lake FY 2018 budget. I'm really excited at the presentation process that I put together with everyone's help. You're going to notice it is a much more colorful, beautiful work of art, truly, because it's got all of our students' artwork all over it. One of the things that I've been really wanting to try to focus on is to remember why we have a budget. And the reason we have a budget is for the students. So we really try to move students into the forefront and to remind everyone why we are working together and working so diligently to try to meet the needs of our students. So throughout this budget book, this is all student artwork. I want to send a special thank you to Jane Napolitano and Hannah Close at the high school, who gathered all the student artwork and loaded it up for us. And throughout the budget book, you will see all of the students' artwork. And again, my focus was trying to keep the students at the heart of the budget.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful idea.
It is. So I'm going to kind of take you through this. I'm hoping this organization will work for you. If you remember, last year was the first year that I tried to put things together for you, and I put it together in a little folder, and I think everybody liked the concept. It made it easier for you to find it. What I hadn't done last year, though, was I didn't have tabs. So it was difficult to keep track and to find things. Also, these are not easy to open up and to add things to. So hopefully this budget process will be easier for you to keep track of all the paperwork that I know we'll be going through. We have some extra tabs for additional things that I know will be coming, and we can obviously add more. So just to begin with, the cover, as you can see, the student's name is on all of the artwork. The cover art was by Sandra Waterman. I'm not going to go through and read all the students' names, but we do list all of them, and tomorrow when I have 2 minutes, I hope, I plan to write a thank you to each student individually to represent them. And the students are very anxious, as are the art teachers, to see this product. So I was going to ask Mr. Mulcahy if he would be kind enough to lend them the budget book so they can see their beautiful artwork. So just to begin with, in terms of the organization, you're going to see the index, and it outlines what everything is within the budget. So the first part of the budget book is the assessments, okay, which are very important. It's our enrollment, it's our numbers, because that's really where it all begins. How many students do we have? How many students do we need to educate? It has information on those line graphs that I presented to you in terms of the number of students currently at Silver Lake and over a 10-year span, along with the students K through 6, so you can get a sense of who's coming in terms of some of our numbers. Then there's the budget timeline, which is section 2. Give you an idea, and I'm going to go a little bit slow so you have a moment to appreciate the beautiful student artwork, which I can't tell you how excited I was when we put this together. I especially want to thank Lisa, who put a tremendous amount of effort into printing all of these out, organizing them, and helping to select the pictures, and it's absolutely gorgeous, truly a work of art. Next, we have the special education presentation. You may remember in November, Marie came in and went through the current student enrollments in each of the districts on special education, which is important information as we're building our budgets. Next, and really where I'm going to begin, is the summaries. You have an executive summary that I put together, and then you have the write-up that Mr. Mulcahy and Mr. Dupiel put in. I'm going to just highlight a little bit. I realize this is a tremendous amount of information, and you're going to want to have some time to really read through this. I'm hoping you'll like this new setup and this organization. I believe it will be easier for you to find, track everything. And how can you not smile when you see the student artwork? It is gorgeous. When we built this budget, we brought forward the budget of all the requests. So the budget that you are seeing is the budget that the committee had asked us to bring forward. It is meet all the requests. There has been no initial cuts made. So this is what the committee had asked when we talked in October, November. You wanted to see what all the requests are. So what I brought forward is a budget that is exactly what has been requested in terms of a formal request from the principals. So it is a number that may feel high, but I want to explain a little bit about why that is so. You may remember last year, we had to make very substantial cuts, and we really cut to the bone in all areas. I mean, we kept going back, we kept coming back. The towns were as generous as they were able to be, but in order to maintain all the staff that we had, which had been my priority, and which is still my priority, we really took everything else out of the budget. I mean, we were just absolutely bare bones. So after you have several years of that process, there's a point when you really need to look at some of those things that you just haven't dealt with for years, like textbooks. So when you look at something like textbooks, for instance, you're going to notice that it looks like there's a huge increase. It isn't that there's a huge increase, it's just that we haven't bought them for so many years because we have not had the funding for that. So that's just really a point to remember as you're looking at this budget. You know, again, where our priorities is to maintain all of the programs that we currently have, all of the staffing that we currently have. We believe that our students are competitive with any school in the area, and also that after watching them tonight, you know, their skill set, what they bring into the communities is phenomenal. One of the other pieces that is huge is the idea of some fixed costs. There are areas that we can't control. One of them is health insurance. You may remember last year, Mayflower Municipal had a 15% increase. This year, the prediction is between a 10 and a 12% increase, unless somebody has heard anything different. Same news. Same news, okay. We have built in a 12% increase at this point in time until we have any further news. I don't know if that's what the towns are using or 10, but 12?
That is what we're using.
Okay.
We're expecting the decision in March.
Okay, so at this point, we have 12% in the budget. That increase alone is over $256,366. Okay, again, that's over $250,000 just on a health insurance increase. Not something we can control. Not something we can control. And again, my goal is to keep students at the heart of the budget. So I just have to have you turn over that page and see this awesome digital photography. It's one of my favorites in there. The students who did this, actually, if you look closely, there's a student in the center of the heart.
Oh, yeah.
So I just I love the symbolism of it. We have not received any official retirement letters to date from either the middle school or the high school. However, we anticipate at least one retirement from both the middle school and the high school. We have previously mentioned at other meetings, we hope to add a new Chapter 74 program in allied health at the high school. And at the middle school, we hope to continue to support and strengthen our STEM initiative by adding a 7th grade STEM teacher. In version 1 of the budget, all current staff anticipated salaries, including steps and lanes, are included. There has not been any additional positions added. The hope is that the new positions will be able to be funded through retirements and grants. Just so you know. So there's not any additional positions in here. We do not have any official retirement letters, so we have not subtracted any of our veteran teachers' salaries. Last year, the committee voted to increase athletic fees to help fund the athletic program. You may remember we were desperately trying to find another $400,000 in one of our listing of cuts. And one of the ways that we were able to try to meet that was to increase our athletic fees and have the athletic fees revolving fund more sustain that program. That is proving to be working. The concern is it's really maxing out the use of the funds. The athletic director has asked to bring back at least a portion of those funds. We don't have actual data, but anecdotally, we believe that there has not been a drop in participation due to the increase in costs. Mr. Mulcahy is agreeing with me, that's good. But again, we're at this point, the fees and taking almost the entire athletic program out of them, it's just so close, we're concerned about that. So we'd like to have a little bit back into the budget. That's the initial request of the athletic director. There's also 3 coaching positions that are a combination of added student interest in the programs and also a safety concern in terms of the growth of the swim program. So we'd like to bring in a girls freshman lacrosse coach, an assistant swim coach, and a girls freshman volleyball coach. Adding those 3 coaching positions would cost approximately $5,000 into the budget. Sorry. The other thing that I think is really important to note is every year there's a change in the percentage of the student population and assessments. A percentage increase in the assessment is not the same as a percentage increase in the total budget. And that's a concept that's a little bit of a slippery slope sometimes for people to understand. In 16-17, the Silver Lake budget increased by 2.96%, just under 3%. And we worked really diligently to get it down to that. I really appreciate all the effort all of us put through. And again, the towns worked with us to give us the most they were able to, but that was the number, that was our goal, that was what we needed to get to. This meant an increase in assessments for Halifax of 4.1%, again, based on student enrollment, 1.4% for Kingston, and 3.5% for Plimpton. The change in assessment percentages is beyond our control. It's not something we can control where the students come from, the number of students from each of the towns. In FY18, Kingston, sorry Mary, has significantly increased its percentages of students, 1.9%, while Halifax has significantly decreased its percentages, 2.3%, and Plimpton has increased its percentage by 0.4%. What that basically means is any percentage increase is going to more severely impact Kingston and Plimpton. Halifax, it may be doing a bit of a happy dance with a decrease of 2.3%. So it's really going, those numbers aren't something we can control. Again, it's where the students are coming from, and it does impact town's cost.
Does this book have the enrollment sheets?
It's in very first, number 1.
First one, okay, thank you, sorry.
No problem. Very organized. Trying really hard on this one. Again, my goal and my hope is that we continue to keep our students at the heart of our budget process, and that in working together in communication and transparency, we can come up with a budget that will meet all those needs. The next two sections are the middle school and the high school. Jim O'Cahey and Mr. DePiel did a great job explaining their requests, basing it on student data, basing it on meetings with student council and what they believe their buildings need. It goes through information in terms of enrollment and the reasons for their requests. The next two sheets go through the technology. You may remember Mr. Pello designed this last time. We found that this was very informative for everyone in terms of the reason that we have the different technology categories. There's one area I wanted to make sure to point out. You're going to see some new words that we haven't necessarily used before, and that's assistive technology. One of the things that we are discovering is many of our special education students, as part of their IEPs, require specific technology programs or specific types of technology. That has been something that we've always sort of taken out from within our technology budget. We're finding that some of those things are costing enough. We really need to define them. It's not fair to everyone, the entire program. So that's a word that, again, it tends to be specifically for students who have some special needs, may require some text-to-speech programs, a specific iPad, some different types of programming that is an area we need to budget for. Section 5. Okay, here's the good part. Well, here's the budget. Let's go that way. So again, Section 5 is the actual version 1 of the budget. Again, because everything is new, I tried really hard to keep it succinct and clear for you. Hopefully, this process works. Please let me know if you have any other suggestions. But this is just a real quick summary of the budget. So the budget, again, contains all requests through the budget process. And here are the areas of the major increases. This is a summary. In terms of fixed costs, the ones we can't control, okay? Personnel, all steps and lanes, $600,556. Retirement contribution to Medicare, over $60,000. Transportation, over $54,000. Insurance, $277,986. The total fixed cost increase, things we can't control, over $992,000, almost $1 million of this increase are fixed costs, not things we can control. 67% of these increases are fixed cost increases. In terms of day-to-day operations, again, these are the major increases, okay? Just try to make sure everybody know it. Textbooks, there's listing 120,000. Again, we have cut textbooks every year at Silver Lake for, well, pretty much since I've been here. So it is an area that we really feel we need to address, and it's something we need to at least bring forward and begin the discussion. Technology, $62,928. Again, some of this is for some software, some increases in our Teach Point and some of our contracts, assistive technology, internet bandwidth increased costs, and some Chromebook carts, and the one-to-one initiative is actually part of the budget. That's not the additional cost, because that was pretty much the same as last year. Athletics, again, we would like to be able to bring a portion of athletics back, just so it's not quite so bare-boned in that revolving fund. Not an area, after our experience with cafeteria, we don't want to have another revolving fund that potentially goes into deficit. May needs a little bit of cushion. Maintenance, there's been an increase of $47,000. Special education contracted services, increase of about $35,000. That is for people for some of our students who may need to have outside evaluations for specific, maybe neurological issues, occupational therapy, physical therapy, any sort of special services that we're not able to offer in-house. Those total major increases is $1,298,000. And that is a 21% increase. I'm sorry, total day-to-day operation increases is $305,000 or 21%. The total major increases is $1,298,000. The other increases are all those sort of smaller ones, just generally, like if you buy paper and you buy paper the next year, it's going to cost a little bit more. So it's a lot of small numbers that would be too much to list here. All of those other increases are the missing 12%. So that adds up to 100% of the total of all the increases. So now to the actual budget, but just so you had some information. Christine has worked incredibly hard, and Melanie Capasso, our accountant, to pull all this information through. This is the sheet that you were used to seeing. They were actually able to create this and have our new system feed into it, to give you an idea. So just so something you were used to and you can look at and to see how it is. Our total regular day increase is 5.53%. The total special education increase is 16.79%, for an overall increase of 6.23%. And again, the difference between last year and this year in the budget is $1,478,748. The next series of pages are from our new accounting system, and it will take you a little bit of time to get used to the look of them. Couple of things just to point out. It shows you a 5-year span. We've never had the ability to do that. That's actually a really good thing for us. So you have the actual budget for FY14, FY15, and FY16. So those are the actual numbers used. And then the budget for the current year we're in and our proposed budget. The first page, which is a double-sided sheet, is the summary page. So it's all of the accounts and just the total summary, okay? And again, it's by the account number. The next stapled set of pages is the detail. So it's set up a little bit strangely, though I did want to let you know because it took me a little while to get to know it. The title is under all the categories. So it takes a minute to sort of find something if you're looking at it. So if you look at Function School Committee 1101, it actually says it at the bottom of the listing, not at the top. Okay, so just so you know, if you're looking, trying to go back and forth, it took me a little bit to adjust my process for that. So that goes into all the detail of how that information came up. Again, it will take you a little while to adjust to this. You're going to notice that some things may look funny. Remember, we didn't have it broken up this way before. Our old accounting software didn't break out into so many categories. So there's going to be some things which may look a little funny. Some of it is just because we didn't have that process before. Okay? But again, there's a lot more information, and you'll definitely want to take a little bit of time to look at it. And then just to finish up, if you could go all the way to Section 8. Section 6 is going to be the PowerPoint that we'll do next month that Christine and I always do together, where we go through the assessments and we go through the whole process. So that's not done yet. When we come next month, we'll give you a 3-hole punched, and you can just put it right in Section 6. Okay? And then we have Budget Version 2. We may need to do more than 2 versions of the budget. Obviously, we haven't done the second version yet, since we're looking at the first, but there's a space for it. However, Section 8 is a capital plan. The capital plan is a program that we have been working on. We set it up as a 5-year plan, and it began in 2015-16. The front is a single-page sheet outlining all the work that the subcommittee, the SAFER committee, has been working on putting together for this year. The first item under buildings is the CTE kitchen. We have to replace the suspended ceiling, sprinklers, HVAC, lighting, because it is actually a safety issue at this point. And it's something that needs to be done. This is not something that came to light through the envelope study. This is something that we have discovered just through our regular maintenance in the building. And the total cost will be estimated at this point is about $50,000. The middle and high school repairs is from our envelope study. And the envelope study we have shared with all the different committees, and that is something that we will be having $200,000 a year in our budget for a while. to try to maintain and to fix some of the issues within our building. The sewer, we spoke about a little bit earlier. Thank you, Mark, for doing that. We have two different things happening to total that 125. Again, Mark did a much better job than I ever will in my lifetime explaining the sewer system. But basically, the good news is, originally that estimate was 150 to 200,000. By doing a little bit of further research, we were able to figure out another solution for the problem, gravity feed, for 75,000. So even though it is still a large number, it's a much better number than what we were dealing with before. Again, this is not a choice. This absolutely 100% has to happen.
Can I just ask a quick question? Does this cost include, because it says that it's underneath the metal fab classroom floor, and I presume that's a concrete floor, is that true?
Yeah.
So does this include the repair of the floor? Because I presume they're going to have to dig the floor up. Is that true?
I believe it does.
I believe it's
The whole project.
the full process.
Yeah,
It's
the full project.
the repair of the infrastructure as well as
Bringing it back to,
Yes.
Right.
It's just it would be a trench, it wouldn't be the whole floor.
Can I just offer something? The town is also having a similar issue with, town of Kingston, sorry, I gotta remember where I am. We're having a similar issue with a floor in our highway barn that is also a concrete floor that needs to be resurfaced. So the reason I'm raising it is
Oh, and we do it together.
if we can do it together and get some economies of scale.
Great, thank you. That's really good to know. Do you know where they're doing it?
I don't, it's part of the capital plan. Again, everything's preliminary, but it was requested last year, and I don't remember which year they put it on, but
Okay.
it's a conversation that can be had.
Okay, thank you. In terms of equipment, we have a flatbed truck that is 19 years old, and this last snowstorm,
Doesn't work.
Didn't perform.
it doesn't work anymore. And actually, the dump truck was doing donuts, not intentionally. So we're having some equipment issues. Again, I know all of you are aware of this, but for anybody in the community that doesn't know that, we are a regional school committee, so we're like our own little city here. So when we need our snow plowed, although the town of Kingston, I'm sure, would help us if they could, the reality is we're responsible. So we have to plow our own parking lot, we have to do all our own shoveling, we are our own city. So, you know, when you hear towns say, you know, oh, there's all these snowstorms, we've had all this extra money, we need to buy equipment, we are very much in the same position. And it has been on the budget for a long time, and we keep welding it, and we've done more things to it because our automotive people are quite familiar with this truck, but we have to get a truck. We really have to get a truck. So, replacing that truck would be about a little over $57,000. In terms of technology, we have two items. A virtual desktop server, and it will allow the use of Windows applications on Chromebooks. So it is something that would really enhance our students' ability in terms of using the Chromebooks. I know Eric and Mark probably could easily give a lot more details than I could for that, but it would be a great thing for our students. And the other thing is just adding some additional wireless access just to continue to add to our bandwidth and access to the internet. The total for the capital plan is $482,495, and that is for 1 year. The full 5-year capital plan is behind it. You will notice that, again, and this was an idea Maureen Springer had, it was a great idea. What we keep doing is we keep bouncing things down the road. We talked about the flatbed truck. Is we started crossing it off, but saying where we've moved it from, so we can start tracking how many years we've bounced things around. And so it's a much better tracking system for us. And then at the back is just some pages for notes. So thank you all for staying awake. I don't know if you've had enough of a chance to really look at this, but again, what you have before you are the requests that have been brought to us. And again, these are not anything that is an unreasonable request. It's not like this is a would be nice to have. These are things that we truly feel we need to run our school system. Again, we made a tremendous number of cuts last year, which is why it looks like it's such an increase this year. And we have been making cuts for many years, but last year was particular.
Can I hit you with one question? In the gyms?
Yeah, in the gyms.
You cut classroom aides in the middle school by half and the high school by a third.
Oh, that's a great question. Actually, I'd love to do that one.
Oh, you want to speak to that? Oh.
It doesn't matter. And you may remember Marie Grable talked about when we came in for the grant, we
Right.
used to fund our teachers, our
So we
special ed.
switched.
Exactly.
Yes.
Just making sure that's what
So
it was.
just,
Thank
just
you.
for anybody who doesn't know or remember, when Marie Grable came on board, we used to fund many of our teachers through a special education grant. Not that that was a bad thing, but what we hadn't understood, and she noticed right away, was the grant automatically, legally, has to take out MTRS from the grant. So we were losing between $40,000 to $50,000 out of the use of that grant for that grant to fund those positions. So by taking the teachers out, putting them in the budget, taking out aides equal to the teacher's salary, we saved $40,000 or $50,000 in the grant. So that's why it looks a little haywire. It's sort of a zero-sum game, but it enabled us to have more funding available through the grant. Is that what you were going to say?
Yes, exactly.
Thank you for confirming my thought.
No problem. Eric?
And I have a question about athletics. So in the day-to-day operations, there's an increase of $39,498. So last year when the athletic fees were increased, that did not increase the athletic budget, correct? And that's what they're asking for is to have some of that money from the athletic fees go back into the athletic program?
No. So I don't know if Jim wants to take this, but I'll give you a first shot at it, okay? So what happened was we removed, and I can tell you, I think it was $60,000 out of the budget last year for athletic fees. We increased athletic fees, just if I can try to open my glasses. Yeah, it's here. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get glasses to see. We'll be able to. We reduced, I believe it was about $60,000.
Just under.
Okay, oh, that was it, okay. $59,598 we took out. So just about $60,000 we took out of the budget, and we increased athletic fees in order to cover it. It looks like it is covering it. The concern is that it may be very close to covering it. Martha Jameson is concerned and requested that a portion of it be brought back into the budget so that there's a little bit more of a leeway. If we have a lot of students that don't participate one year, if we have some games that aren't coming up, as fees come up. It isn't that it isn't working, it's just very close. After our experience with the cafeteria program, which you may remember was in the red, we're trying to be proactive. It isn't that it isn't working, it's very tight. Okay, and this is a request from Martha Jameson. Again, I know it isn't making some people happy, but the reason I'm doing this is I was asked to bring forward the request. This is a request from Martha Jameson.
Since I was the one that was very involved in the fee structure and how we were going to allocate it, and I have not had time to look that up, I'm very concerned about this. One of the reasons that we raised the fees was to help with the athletic budget and the expenses there. We did the same thing with our, a similar type thing with our cafeteria program, where we took the director out of that and put that person in our regular budget. Because we're saying, okay, it's an employee, it shouldn't be under the cafeteria fund, it should be in the Silver Lake budget. Now, we took people out last year, now we're asking to take other people out. We've increased the fees, but we also want to increase the expenses. And I need more than just saying contracted services and supplies. I need to know what that entails. And actually, I'm going to send you an email tomorrow, Christine. I want to know what the current items that are now in that athletic revolving fund and what is being taken out of that fund and put into our budget that now we're going to have to absorb. But not tonight. I want to look at my information from the fee structure because I did a lot of work on that, and this is really upsetting to think that we're going to play these games with the revolving fund every year, and I'm sorry, but that's how I feel about it, having been on the, now that I'm on the revolving fund committee.
I'm going to dovetail there, or I understand what you're saying, Maureen. One point I would like to make is I think any questions that we have tonight that we're bringing back information, you're suggesting, email me something or whatever. I'd like to ensure that the full committee gets all the information. Secondly, my opinion as one person on this committee who has also sat on the revolving account subcommittee is I would like to see some consistency in the mindset of what we have in the operating budget versus what is absorbed by the revolving account budget. I just think it makes sense. So when we get further clarification and share it with the committee, I think we need to kind of, my thought is, have some sort of consistency to our mindset.
Can I take us down a different track for a moment?
Certainly, absolutely, please.
So I wanted to mention how current philosophical thinking in education is about growth mindset and constant improvement. And I think that the job the administration has done with this budget and the way it was described by our superintendent shows that same philosophy being used to take our district from where it is and to improve it to what we all hope it could be. So I understand the number might be a little frightening to look at, but I appreciate the work that was put into it and that this is our hope and dreams and our vision for the Silver Lake School District. Thank you very much for your work. Appreciate it.
Mark.
Superintendent, you had indicated some of the technology was required for special education and some of the changes that we've been made. Is that reflected in our special education budget, or is that still generally grouped under technology? And if so, can you quantify that?
Assistive technology, I had a conversation with Mr. Pella beforehand. He put in 10,000 specifically for assistive technology. If you look at his spreadsheet, he shows you.
And that's still under the general technology budget?
Yes. But it's again, and we're dealing with this in all the elementaries too, we've always sort of moved pieces of equipment around, and what we're finding is it needs to have its own category because it's happening more and more in terms of some of the requirements for IEPs.
If it's a state mandated item that has to be underneath, I'm sorry, Mr. Creed, I'm home early tonight.
It's an unfunded mandate, mister.
If it's an unfunded mandate, should it at least fall under the place that the mandate came from under special education, or is leave it under the general school?
One clarification for a second. You're saying assisted technology. I'm sorry, I'm thinking Kurzweil and...
Yeah, oh yeah, that's part of it
So
too.
it's not mandated by the state.
It's mandated
It's just
by
what the
the-
students need in order to learn.
Yes.
So programs that help them read books and do that kind of
Basically, JAWS.
Yeah.
access that everyone else has.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Access, yeah, usual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to make sure that we further clarify that if it's on a student's IEP, that's a legally binding document.
Right.
We are held to that.
That's what I said mandated by the plans.
Okay.
Yeah.
mandated by
Make
the
sure
law.
we're all speaking the same way.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
Yeah. No, that's important to understand clearly.
It's not unfunded.
Madam Chair?
Certainly.
I understand that textbooks is kind of in the same position that we find healthcare in. We had several years where healthcare did 0, 0, 0 and realized they needed to catch up. We consciously held back on textbooks to try and save our budget in the past few years, thus the number you see this year. Could the principals please explain for the committee what texts are needed? Where are we right now with curriculum frameworks being reflected by the texts we have? And how current are they to the world at large? Why do we need these textbooks, please?
Well, I can speak obviously for the high school. This is that number is shared between Mr. Dupiel and I, but the textbooks are dated. That's really the simple answer. If I go through some of the subject areas, just for specifics, the foreign language department, we're looking for new Spanish texts. They're approaching 15 years old. Same with the French text. Also replacement text as far as all the languages concerned, including Latin. We've got updates that we need to have for our AP programs like Calc, AP Physics, those books, 10-plus years old, that need to be replaced. Social Studies, that's a whole revamp as far as the another AP program is concerned. And we're looking at digital versions of this, but that doesn't really change the cost. So that's just a little tidbit, because the company will tell you that it's the same cost and they're going to print the book anyway, so you can have that too. So again, the large cost is something that in textbooks, it's an area that we have been able to use the term kick the can down the road, but it just continues to sit there. I'm going to continue to ask for it, understanding the position of the committee and the towns. I get it, but I'm going to continue to talk about textbooks because they're still needed. And we're looking at textbooks that are just old. They're 10, 12, 15 years old. Society has changed, the textbooks have changed. We need to upgrade what we use in the classrooms for our students. Of course, we're looking at digital options, and we utilize our Chromebooks, which is a great tool, but it's something we need. We've done really good work as far as looking for things that might be for free, or updating novels we use in ELA that we can get deals on, and we've picked at things, and we've tried to update what we have, but it's really, we've created, the teachers, through the coordinators and department chairs and myself, have worked on textbook plans for a long time, and we haven't really followed through with them because we haven't been able to through the budget. Again, it's not a statement of begging. It's a statement more of we've planned for it. We understand where the cuts have to be made. We understand that sometimes that falls with supplies and textbooks, but it's an area that I think I'm always going to continue to put in and ask for because it's needed.
A lot of people would argue textbooks are textbooks, but again, educational theory continues to evolve and the children in front of our teachers continue to shift. I do applaud your staff and the staff of the middle school for creating units, lessons, and really carrying the ball for us. I would love to see our committee have a cyclical curriculum adoption review where we look at one core area of the subject every single year, moving from this point forward, so we don't find ourselves in this position. Again, I think it was the sacrifice of the teachers and the administrators at both of our buildings that got us to this point. I appreciate your explanation. Do you have anything to add from the middle school perspective, please, on textbooks?
Yes, so the majority of the textbook requests from the middle school is around our science curriculum. So in 2016, Massachusetts adopted the new science, tech, engineering standards, and therefore our textbooks now are currently not in alignment with the new state standards, so therefore we're out of alignment with the new state assessments that are coming from the Massachusetts new state standards. So our textbooks in the 7th grade are from 1995, 8th grade 1995, 7th grade, 30 years old, and 7th grade.
Mr. Dupley, can you explain in years how old that textbook is currently?
So 1995, I mean, you're looking at, that information is probably over 25 years old.
How old are the students using those books?
A lot less than that. You're talking about 13-year-old students that are using information that was put together, like I said, probably about 25 or so years ago, because even though the print date says this, the information is gathered over the years prior to that.
So when we teach students, one of the first things we do is activate their prior knowledge, try and get them to relate to the information they're receiving. Is it possible for that student to relate to something that's 25 years old?
I'd say that there's a lot of things that are probably outdated and that our teachers really do a very nice job trying to bring it back in line and educate effectively with the resources we have. But, also given the understanding that our budget requests by the towns over the past few years have been, hey, we need to find a certain way to make these budgets work. We've been trying to be understanding of that. But certainly with the new state alignment, the new national standards have made that change. And these textbooks are something that we're bringing forward because it is necessary for the 7th and 8th grade students to have something that's aligned with the state standards and relevant in today's.
I'm just going to add to that. This isn't an arbitrary process as far as choosing the textbooks. You know, many of the departments work together. The teachers work in teams within their own subject areas with their department chairs and coordinators to really research and choose a textbook that really fits what works for us in our curriculum as far as meeting the state standards and meeting our students' needs. All right, and then on top of that, this is a commitment over time. So in a lot of cases, we understand we're not trying to buy everything at once. So if we look, if we break down Spanish textbooks, if we buy a whole set of Spanish 1 textbooks, those students next year are going to go to Spanish 2, and you have to get Spanish 2 textbook that might go along with that Spanish 1 textbook and so forth. So it's a commitment over a period of a few years. So if you choose, if we make decisions, okay, you know, we're going to look at either in Spanish or we're going to look at buying U.S. History 1 textbooks so we can buy the U.S. History 2 textbooks in the following year. Just as an example, it's a commitment by us, by the staff, the administration, and the committee over a period of time. So it's not, we're just saying, we need textbooks this year. It's more of, there's a plan involved in this, and there's been a lot of research done by our staff to make sure we're making the right choices here. There's been meetings with publishers to get the best deals, and that's where those prices come from that we put in here. So there's been a lot of work done to put that proposal together for us to follow through.
I appreciate your expert testimony. I'd like to bring back to the committee's attention, though, that's something the principal and Katie said, that a lot of these digital texts also throw into the purchase agreement a physical copy at no additional cost. So if we end up getting any books, please, if you see a digital copy and a textbook copy, it does not mean that we spend twice as much money as we told you we were going to spend. It's part of a lot of the packages. And that allows for students, and I know it's not every single package that offers that, but that allows students to unhook from screen time from time to time and have that option to choose between a physical text and a digital text. And the more options we give our students, the more likely they are to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to add anecdotally about the textbooks. My older son's a sophomore studying chemical engineering, and he took, I think, 7 AP exams here. 2 of those were biology and chemistry. And I remember at the time, this is 2 years ago, he said that the exam, the textbooks that they had here, obviously those do change quite a bit, biology and chemistry. I think there's a whole new row on the periodic table, you know, just in the past 10 years. So things change a lot, but he said that, you know, the teachers had to work outside of the textbooks to prepare them for the AP exams. We did a great job. I mean, obviously we do a great job here at the school with AP, but you definitely need, you know, the textbooks, especially with science and technology, because it does change so much. And, you know, one question, though, I think, when we do purchase a textbook and it includes a digital edition, do we then get, if it changes and there's a new element on the periodic table and that's updated in, you know, the next version, do we get that digitally? I know we wouldn't in the print, or would you have to purchase a newer edition?
It depends. That's where that research comes in.
Yeah.
That's why we talk to different publishers, you know, not to equate it to other things. It's like, you know, kind of buying a car, what kind of model you're going to get, and what are you going to give us if we buy this version, and what are we going to get out of that digital version? And you know, a lot of companies let us try out the versions and the copies, and those are some of the questions that we ask. What do we get if this is updated in the next year or 2 years? You know, we're making an investment now. How long is that investment going to be good for, as far as what we purchase? So those are good. That's a great question, but that goes into that research piece. And a lot of times, you know, when teachers are at sometimes at those department meetings that they have monthly, a couple times a month, that they're given that task actually to research that and to look that up. And those are some of the questions that they do ask, because they're living the text with the students. That's their tool. So they're the most important people to really do that research and make that decision.
And there are other things that are updated, Eric, that do come with it. So they'll have like support software that comes with the electronic resource, and if that gets updated, then you have that piece there is accessed by our students. Ancillary materials. So there are other things that absolutely, and then there are some things that you have to negotiate, right?
Or flat out buy.
Yeah.
Jim?
This conversation makes me kind of sad because it reminds me of why we're in this situation. And that's because every year we've had to cut our budget. And textbooks have been one of the things we've had to cut. We're cutting paper clips and paper supplies and textbooks because our budget got down to bare bones. And it's not going to be that much different this year. And we're going to have some very, very tough decisions regarding textbooks and staffing and everything too. So it's very, very sad that we're having this conversation about 30-year-old textbooks and the difficulty it's going to be replacing them again this year.
Can I ask a question regarding the technology increase? I think I heard server. Did I hear that word thrown up? No? What?
That's on the capital.
Capital plan, okay. So technology, the 62,000, almost 63,000. What did that involve?
10,000 are for some equipment repairs, and that's just for contract stuff beyond our staff's ability to fix. About 7,000 is for some software at the middle school, curriculum related. 4,000 are some increases in Teach Point and Power School. 10,000, as I mentioned, is assistive technology. 6,000 is an increase in some of our bandwidth. Mr. Dupeel requested 3 Chromebook carts for $21,000 for the middle school. And CTE technology increases $4,000.
Okay, good. Thank you. I thought for some reason I heard server, so I apologize.
Yeah, no, you did, but it was in the capital plan.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Mark?
Could you highlight the funding sources for your proposed budget?
The capital plan or the extra budget?
Okay, basically, just need to highlight that you're planning to have the regular budget.
Yep.
Operating budget to be, and what was your source for the capital plan?
The capital plan, it will obviously be the committee's vote. Last year, we funded the capital plan completely out of E&D. Grady did a presentation earlier and mentioned that. There are options. One option is to take either all or a portion of it out of E&D again. As Grady mentioned, the E&D is currently at $1.14 million, 4.4%?
Correct.
4.4%. We can't go over 5%. So, right now our E&D is at a good, healthy point. Or the capital plan could go into the regular day budget and or a portion of the regular day budget. So we had some early discussions on it at our SAFER committee earlier, and I don't think at this point we're completely ready to make a recommendation, but those are the 2 possible options for the capital plan.
So, as Mr. Creed said last year and the year before, and I think the year before that, they were really running out of pencils, paper, and supplies, and in this case, textbooks. And I want to thank everybody for that presentation on textbooks and making sure that the public understands that we are buying the technology-appropriate version of said textbook. And I think it is time that we need to look at that. Now, we need to cut this budget further, which I anticipate some discussion on that. Programs, people, jobs, those kind of things is where we're at. So making those tough decisions, I think, should be part of, you indicated, round 2, empty spot here, budget proposal. Very nicely done, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
But I think we ought to really start looking at how we can pare down either some of the programs we have or what kind of programs we're looking at to do that and what the impact of that is. We're all aware, and I'll just say for the television, that when those positions are eliminated, unless there's a retirement involved, it's a cost item to do that, and to start doing that. And we have certain notification periods that we would have to do if we were in fact going to do that. But I think it was a very good presentation, about 67% of the increase being items that we really can't change. I mean, you could change them, but not today, not over time. you would go back to your staff and say, everybody, let's have a pay cut. And we could do that and save positions, and we can do that, or we can obviously go the other way and say, in order to keep the positions funded the way they are, we're going to have to look at some decisions. Just thought I'd lay the black cat out, because you've done a little bit of that too. So it's a reality, unfortunately, of this committee to balance a great education, which I think we offer here at Silver Lake. I think we've done it very, very efficiently. I think there's members of the community that support us being on this committee and know that we represent both the budget side and the fact that we're trying to bring the best education for the dollar to the youth of Silver Lake. I think we've looked for efficiencies, we've looked for revenue sources, we've shopped around for everything we can think of. We have a couple things left on the hat. They're not going to solve all the problems, and they're not going to do it in the long or short term. We're looking at some space that we have here at Silver Lake that isn't necessarily utilized, but that where the sun may shine, that may bring some revenue through the leasing those sites. Again, within the regulations, the Department of Education has some pretty good restrictions on what we can do here at the school, but we think we can derive small revenue sources and try to offset the budget with those things. So we're still working on those. We have some immediate needs, we have some intermediate needs, and we have some long-term needs. But I'll throw the word out there before the Finance Committee start, and I'll say that word, sustainability. And we have to create a plan and a process within our schools to look at being able to sustain this budget every time. And if we're going to pull money out of E&D, we need to have a place, something we can put back. E&D isn't going to last forever. It's not an unlimited bank source. It does fluctuate. There is some money that comes in as revenue that will be generated this year that we have to wait till next year to put it back. So when we say we're taking money out of our E&D fund, it's not 100% out. Some of that will go back. But I think we need to be careful. The other thing we've done, if you look at your capital plan, is we've pushed some items down the road to the point where next year's discussion is going to be twice this year's discussion. And as we keep pushing these items back, take the truck, for example, that's 19 years old. What it costs to maintain a 19-year-old truck is throwing money away. If you need to go out and buy a truck because you can't, and it's got to be something you need, but there is a point of how long you can keep textbooks and how long you can keep cars. So I think that it's a tough decision. I hope our communities will support that and let you know that you're elected officials. This is your vote. I like what Mr. Coulter said. We're your representatives. Call us. Our phone numbers are out there. Our emails are available. And we'd love to hear from the general public if they have any ways that they feel we can help solve the problem.
Maureen?
Mark is absolutely right, which tortures me to say. However,
Mark it down.
Looking at this, I mean, and again, we asked you to give us everything that you feel we need to continue the education and the future of our children. But this budget, above and beyond the fixed, is $485,000. And I know last year we were very lucky. We didn't have to lose any employees. We didn't have to cut any programs. We talked about the textbooks, and yeah, we've been pushing them off for a number of years. Well, that's $130-something thousand. It's a couple of positions here. And it may come to the point where we have to look at our sports, and we have to look at our musical, and we have to look at our AP programs, and some of the ones that don't have a large number of attendance in them, and we have to make these decisions. The towns aren't going to like it, but they're not supporting our budget. So what choice do we have? We can't keep taking the money out of E&D. I do believe that we need to take some out for some of these costs that we certainly didn't expect, the sewer and some of the other shocking maintenance issues that came up this year. But we can't take the regular maintenance of this building out of E&D every year. We just can't keep doing it. So I know that when we come back next month, we've sort of given you guys, I hate to see the textbooks go again. I think that's really it's foolish. How much longer?
Yeah, and anybody else before? And Mary, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you are in the audience.
I promised Joy I wasn't going to say anything. It's really hard. Obviously, the numbers are shocking, and tonight I'm also getting the budget for Kingston Elementary and Intermediate School. I mean, we're talking $2.5 million, which is crazy. But it's crazy for us to be able to afford, is what I mean by that. So it's really hard to even digest these numbers yet, since I'm just looking at it for the first time. But I also can't really balance anything without having revenue sources. And until we have assessment numbers and we have projections about how the budget's going to be funded, what our foundation budget is, what our minimum contributions are, it's really difficult for us to understand our affordability of either our local school budget or our Silver Lake budget. Kingston, just so the other communities are also aware, Kingston's sort of undergoing a very unique process right now that Plimpton and Halifax are not undergoing, which is all of our assessments throughout the entire community are being reviewed. Every single property is being reviewed via a measure and list service. And we are seeing incredible changes in our property assessments, recapturing what's called new growth, basically people who have put on additions or done renovations to their property, and they haven't been taxed on them. All of a sudden, this year, we're capturing a lot of that information. So our taxpayers, without even looking at a budget, are already seeing incredible increases based on our property valuations here in the town of Kingston. So we're going to expect a lot of unrest when we get to the point of town meeting and start talking about budgets in general, not town services versus school services and what has to give. Just in general, the town of Kingston is seeing a great strain in the increase of our tax bills. And quite frankly, our tax bills are far too high, and Kingston is becoming an unaffordable community for our average single-family homeowners. It's just, it's a fact, and the town of Kingston has to do something about it.
Peripherally, I think Mark had it up first, but I'm not sure.
All right, mine's positive news. Do you want to take the negative?
He's being a gentleman.
I'm going to yield to the negative.
Let me do mine first then. Just to follow up on what Mary said, Plimpton went through their evaluation last year. And the only thing I've heard since the tax bills came out just recently is it's the same, we're in the same boat. We have many of our seniors and younger families that can't even afford to move into our town. The seniors are, it's not just Kingston. And you certainly have, a lot more both sides coming. We don't have the options for a lot of revenue. And that's the way our taxpayers want to keep it. But these costs, again, Silver Lake is always the bad guy in my town. So I just want to let everybody know that we're all in the same boat.
Yeah. And I don't think that Silver Lake is the bad guy, and I don't think our
No,
school
I didn't
is
say
the bad guy at all.
I didn't say
There's-
Kingston. I said
Yeah.
my town.
But there is genuine support for our education system across the town of Kingston.
Absolutely.
And we would love to provide the best of everything.
Of course.
Unfortunately, we have a hard time doing that. And quite frankly, our finance committee just had their first meeting of the year on Monday of this particular week. And the very first thing we do as part of our budget process is focus on revenues. Although we're given the spending plan and how departments want to spend money, the finance committee doesn't even look at that. We focus the entire meeting exclusively on revenues. And one of the sets of questions I ask is, what have we done in terms of economic development? What new opportunities have been brought into this community? Because quite frankly, I'll tell you that the budget that we saw the other night, when we look at the revenue section of our budget, every single number was static. It was the same number as last year, except for taxes. That was the only number that went up. And when I look at that, that to me is unreasonable and not properly vetted, because you have to look at your local receipts. You have to look at your non-tax sources of revenue and see where we can maximize those opportunities, and not just simply think we're going to throw the expenses of our services on the backs of our residents. And what we were told was that there were no new, aside from a $30,000 solar project that come into around the corner here on Pembroke Street, There's a new solar farm that's coming in. It will bring in an additional $30,000 to the town of Kingston. Well, that's great, but that's not even a paraprofessional here in the school district. So when that's our only new source of revenue for a town the size of Kingston, that to me is shocking. And we're not doing enough to look at non-tax sources of revenue. And we cannot continue to dig deeper into the pockets of our taxpayers. I know you guys struggle with it. You look at your fee schedules. We look at our fee schedules. But all we're doing is just digging into the pockets of our residents deeper and deeper and deeper. And we have to figure out what it is that is affordable for this community. It's a tough struggle.
Yeah, agreed. Mark?
Well, I'm being a Kingston guy and having both sides of that house. The Kingston infrastructure doesn't support business growth. It doesn't support economic development. You're at 90% residential and 10% business in the town of Kingston. Your zoning bylaws and haven't been updated 20 or 30 years. Nothing is conducive to bringing revenue sources to Kingston. You're looking at the fight to put anything solar in Kingston that's off the top of a roof, other than rooftop, is very difficult, for example. But what I wanted to say was a compliment is that tonight at our meeting with our CTE department, your facilities manager reached out to the vocational program to find a project that we could do to benefit the town of Kingston. I just want to say that your professionals are reaching out to the school district and trying to save some funds in the process.
That was for the Brandon Grace Beach?
That was for
one of
that.
them. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So we're looking into that, no commitments, but I wanted to say that the town of Kingston is looking for, and we like to support the bridge between Silver Lake and the towns that we represent. Thanks.
Yeah, the roof on the gazebo, yeah, which is fantastic. Yeah, and conversely to that, the facilities manager, and I appreciate that, and I really am happy that there's some collaboration and some synergy. One of the things I noticed in here, and maybe it was the elementary, there was some painting, some inside painting that needed to be done.
Yep.
And I know that our facilities manager has gotten free labor to
We
do
did
a lot
offer
of
that to custom paint.
This is the supplies.
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
he
that's
did
the
it.
supplies for it? Perfect,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah. He,
Yay.
that resource painted during Christmas break when the students were there.
Excellent.
Wonderful. Okay. Any further comments on the budgets? Any other general feelings? I think a lot more information has to come our way, in the town's ways, to really start to, have some direction. I would encourage us to look at the budget version 1 pretty thoroughly before our next meeting. I don't know if anybody thinks we need to meet before our next meeting. I'm thinking it's probably premature. But
I wanted to ask, we have I believe we chose that we want to vote our budget in March to be in time for, I believe, Kingston to be
Our
ready.
town meeting is in May.
May
So
6th.
May 6th. So if you guys have you have to back off X number of days, is it
45.
45 days prior to that.
So I was wondering if we wanted to try to have a meeting between, I don't know, I feel like we're a little rushed. I feel like we're having our January meeting and then we're February 9th and then it's March 9th. Do we need a meeting in between?
do we, you think so? Okay. All right.
Do you feel it should be after the February meeting or after the...
End of February?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about
Or between
voting-
now and February.
She's saying between now and
If
February.
we're talking about voting it in March, it doesn't give us a lot of time. So, if we can't, what's the sense of meeting after March 8th or 9th if we already voted it? There's no sense.
Right, but if we meet after February, we're going to have more numbers from the state than we can actually...
Right, the governor's budget
Right,
is the
'cause it's the
25th.
Right.
25th, correct?
Right, and then the House, so we're going to have more numbers after the February meeting. So if we're going to have another meeting, I propose it be after that February meeting because we're more accurate.
I guess that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, so agreed. That would be my thought as well. Again, unless somebody else differs, I don't think there's a lot we can do until we see some more concrete, as Sue said as well. Mary,
So,
rather.
Can we look at dates?
Perfect.
We're going to pick a Thursday.
Yeah.
February 23rd would be...
School vacation, Jason just reminded me, because he's a teacher and he doesn't have to work that week, is the week of the 20th.
Career planning.
That makes one of us, wait a second.
Yeah, really. So could we look at the 27th, 28th?
Monday, Tuesday.
I have a
Or, you know, through that week there, 27th, 28th through the,
February 27th or 28th?
The
Or the
27th
first or the
is
second.
Plimpton School Committee.
yeah, I know, Mondays are terrible for you guys.
I think we have to go off of Joy first, depending on what you have for.
No, yeah, I'm just throwing dates out there.
The 28th.
We don't want to get, because the following week is March 9th anyway, so.
Right.
Well,
The 28th is I host the grade 8 parents up here.
That's right, yeah.
Do you want to, so we're going to, and what is school vacation, the week of the 20th?
Week of the 28th.
No, school vacation.
What time do you do that?
No, I'm asking, is it the week of the 20th?
Yeah, so we got the 20th,
So that-
we got the 24th.
So that backs us into February, the week of February 23rd, February 13th.
No. After the 24th.
my March schedule.
Because we can't do it, we,
Okay, so you want to do it like March 1st or 2nd then?
No.
Yep, 2.
Well,
March 2nd will be the week before the meeting.
Right.
yeah, but still,
Okay.
I mean, if it's just a budget meeting, we don't spend much time.
How dare you have a school to run?
Public hearing on
Well,
the 2nd?
both those meetings, just so you know,
Second, on February.
end at 8 o'clock. If you guys want to have a meeting,
I'd invite you over afterwards.
yeah, I'll come over after.
Well, we're not voting that night, we're just having a public hearing on February 9th. We're not voting at that night, we're
No.
voting in March.
Yes.
Right.
That's why I
No,
said.
okay, so March 9th, you're going to vote.
March 9th.
March 2nd, you're going to have an extra meeting?
Why
Well,
not?
that,
I think that makes
it's
sense.
about all you can do, though.
When do you
We
have
spent
any
an
public
hour here just trying to figure out what the hell we're doing. We might as well meet the week before and get some of it out of the way. We'll have had our public meeting, we come back and we look at it.
Okay.
Let us play with the figures a
Public
little more and
meeting
vote the following week.
February 9th.
February 9th.
Too many nights. Settle down.
How's March 2nd?
I propose March 2nd.
March 2nd is parent-teacher conference.
For both schools?
No, here.
Okay, how, how comfortable or uncomfortable, well, we kind of need,
Is it, so can we do it at the middle school?
we could, but we won't have,
I'll be over after.
but
Actually,
But-
I can come the beginning. It's okay. Whatever you guys want.
But Jim may take everything out of your budget while you're not here.
He knows better.
Well, he's not here.
That's already
Whatever he's taking back, I already
Two
took.
cameras.
I set Jason and Maureen up to say this date.
Exactly. Yeah. We've been winking at each other all night.
No,
So we,
Wednesday the 1st.
First is open.
first is open, just,
I'm okay.
I have my SCI course until 7 o'clock.
You don't
We
need
have,
it.
we have negotiations in Plimpton.
do you? Okay, so we're back to March 2nd?
So back to the 2nd.
I think we have to do the second.
In the
Jim
middle
will have to
school.
And you just get nothing.
Send the
I'll be there.
All righty,
it's on
thank you.
campus anyway.
Thank you.
The March 2nd middle school.
We'll do the middle
We'll
school
have to because of the traffic here.
Yeah, the traffic here, we
7 o'clock
7 o'clock.
Perfect,
in the library, right?
yes. Okay,
Good.
all right.
And it's just for the budget, so we're not gonna,
Yes, just budget.
We're going to the land sale.
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
That, no, well,
do that.
Okay. As far as, Joy just mentioned it, and I've been thinking of it myself, just general direction thoughts, and I don't know that anybody has any, and I think it's difficult at this point, other than, I would imagine as you folks created this budget, either on paper or in your mind, you have a hierarchy of what is most crucial versus, there's degrees to your, the strength of how you feel about the numbers. I think I'd probably suggest that, you start to solidify that. I think we need to think about what we feel is important to have in the school, in this budget, and what we think is maybe up for debate, to come into March 2nd and have a productive meeting. I wouldn't anticipate this number changing between now and March 2nd, but I think after our discussion on March 2nd, the number's going to perhaps change. Is that a fair statement on my part? Does anyone feel that something should be different, a different budget? I can't imagine, we didn't give enough feedback tonight. We don't have enough numbers tonight.
I think we made it very clear that this isn't acceptable, and there's $485,000 there that needs to have a pencil sharpened at it. I'm not saying to get rid of $485,000, that's not what I'm saying.
Oh, no, I didn't interpret it that way.
But I'm concerned, as our gyms said, that we've put off textbooks for how many years? Okay, so if we keep that $100 and some thousand in there, something else has to go. Or something has to be done to look at programs and extracurricular activities and...
And I completely agree, and if I misspoke or didn't phrase it correctly, I'm not saying anything different than you are.
Okay.
But I think if textbooks stay, what's the hierarchy of wants, needs, etc.? I mean...
And that's what these guys have to do.
Right, exactly. So I think we need to come in with some of those ideas and thoughts to make March 2nd productive.
I don't think we need to come in with the ideas and thoughts.
No.
The administration needs to come to us.
Yeah.
And say, you know, we're going to do this and suffer for another year without it.
Unless this committee member, quite frankly, doesn't feel that textbooks are, you know, if you go home and you digest it, any committee member could throw out there. I don't think I'm not advocating that because I think it's a high priority. But if a committee member reviews this budget and says, you know, I don't think X is as crucial in this budget this year as somebody else, tell me why it is.
Well, I want to comment on that.
Okay.
Because I don't feel, I'm not the educator here. And I'm not the child expert in what our children need. And I don't feel it's fair for me or any one of us to say we don't need those textbooks, you need to get rid of them and not spend the money. That's not what to me, that's not what our role is. I know Mr. Creed, hi John, tells us, you know, we have the line item autonomy and we can cut whatever we want, but really? Why do we have the experts that we have if we're going to second guess their decisions? I won't do that.
Okay, I think there are perhaps others on the committee who might, or at least would be open to, debating ideas.
Of course.
If we don't have a detailed, lively, meaningful discussion about the budget, we might as well just stamp this one now and send it off.
You're misinterpreting what I'm saying.
Okay.
I definitely agree that we have the dialogue. I definitely agree that there are members of the committee that may have one or two opinions about what items we should cut, but they don't work in this district. And that to me makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that statement.
Yeah, dialogue is great.
Okay.
It's certainly what we're looking for.
Yeah.
What I would add, I mean, I'm sure you guys know how to do this, and you probably already have done this. I do this a lot for the Justice Department, going through our budget requests every year, and I've been doing it for 20 years. But, you know, I do it with a spreadsheet with, I mean, you're giving us large categories, but, you know, like the line item, under each grouping of textbooks, like just what I typically do, we have a numbering system. 10 is absolutely mission critical, can't function without it. 7 is, you know, and you go 10, 7, 3, 1, you know, something along those lines, but or whatever kind of ranking. And you guys may have, like I said, may have already done that. But that may help because textbooks are incredibly important, but which ones are the most important too? Sure. You know, if we can go without foreign languages and do the sciences, if you had to, you know, just to prioritize within those groupings, that would be, I think, majorly helpful as well.
Agreed.
Paul?
Mark?
If we are keeping textbooks and other things, I think it's time for tough decisions. To take Mark's opinion earlier, it's time to look at programs and extracurriculars. So I would ask that the powers that be also be prepared for that discussion if we decided to keep something else.
Anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you. This was helpful, and thank you for all the work that went into not just this, which is absolutely beautiful and very well organized, but the numbers. Christine and Jim and you and Christine as well. and everybody else who was involved. Okay, moving on in the agenda, Kingston Land Deal. Mark, did you have anything else, Joy? No. New business, folks? Old business? Kingston Land Deal, I think we've covered that. Yeah, a little bit. Administration building?
No comment.
Okay. Community outreach?
I think we did a lot of
I
that tonight.
have nothing to add to that right now.
I have one thing to bring up, I'm sorry. I was daydreaming about having everything we need and not worrying about the numbers, I'm sorry. Community outreach, yes, I did reconnect with the Silver Lake Parent Advisory Committee for Special Ed. And
CPAC.
CPAC, that's right. And we've shifted our focus. The Pilgrim Area Collaborative was kind enough to allow the CPAC to use their new professional development space down at Pilgrim Academy. They're going to be reaching out to CPACs on the entire South Shore. We are currently brainstorming what kind of session we'd like to have for parents, but we think we might be focusing on something that can cross from special ed to all students, and that would be the topic of anxiety in students in our current school settings. So as that comes together further, I'll let you guys know, and we can try and help publish that and get some people to go and show up. It's a timely topic, a very important thing for us to discuss.
Jason, I ask you, please keep me informed on that one. I will definitely get you some people.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you for that. Principal's Corner, Principal's Corner. Principal's reports.
I'm gonna, just the high points. Just be brief, we had talked about the fact that the meeting is for a little bit, so I think what I'll do is I've passed out my newsletter. I think I'll just ask for a vote on the school improvement plan, which I passed out last time.
So moved.
Second? Okay.
Comment?
Okay.
Just wanted to, again, make sure that we, as the school committee, thank the people who sit on the School Improvement Council for their time and their dedication to our schools. They're unsung heroes, and they put a lot of effort into this, so thank them for us, please.
I will, absolutely.
Thank you.
Jason.
There's a motion on the table. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is that all you needed to vote for?
That's it.
Okay.
Mr. Mulcahy, did you have a vote?
You're up.
You're up.
I'm up. Sorry. I don't know if Superintendent Blackwood already said this, but to save time, Jim and I just need votes.
Jim already went.
Oh, Jim already went.
You get yours? All right, good. The November school committee meeting, a packet of new courses and course changes was distributed to the committee. Changes to program studies along with new courses to be added were explained at that time. The school is seeking a vote from the committee to accept the changes and additions to be applied to the 2017-18 Silver Lake Regional High School Program Studies.
Second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You always want to bring a vote like times like
With
this.
those title changes.
Josep's not in yet.
Oh, that's what I was just going to ask as well. Okay.
Title changes.
All righty.
That's already, that's, we're second, thank you.
Title
We're in
changes.
the-
Never gonna get there.
We're in the home stretch. January 16th is a holiday. Field trip,
No,
he said,
yeah.
yeah. Martin Luther King Teachers in Service Day, the 17th. My son is very excited. And then February 9th, next school committee meeting as well as the joint union. And no executive session, right?
Did we have a field trip this week?
No.
The paperwork's not in yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
Did somebody already ask that?
All righty,
People
folks.
quiet, please.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks, very much.
Thank you.